Welcome to another Amazing Stories Unpacked. We want to bring you something that will always make your life better. So today, I'd like to talk about scams. There's so many predators out there trying to con you with the deal of a lifetime, with get-rich-quick schemes. P.T. Barnum, the greatest showman, famously said, "There's a sucker born every minute." Now, before I share some pointers with you on how to avoid being suckered, I'd like to unwrap the story about one of the greatest con jobs in history. I call it the swindle of the century. Now, Bernie Madoff's scheme stole billions of dollars from his gullible backers, and there are those who call Madoff history's greatest con artist, but they never met the Prince of Poitiers. This swindler not only scammed the equivalent of $5 billion in today's money, he actually managed to sell a country that didn't exist. In the early 1800s, the British government was borrowing so much money that they drove down the interest rates. English bond investors were forced to gamble on faraway places to find some kind of a better return on their investments. It was the perfect swindler or setup for the swindler who introduced himself as the Prince of Poitiers. Like charlatans everywhere, the Prince of Poitiers oozed sincerity. His golden tongue painted the picture of a veritable Garden of Eden in Central America, with rich resources waiting to be exploited. Before long, the Prince of Poitiers had gullible investors salivating at the prospect of getting rich quick in a faraway land called Poitiers. I mean, they couldn't believe their good fortune when the prince offered them $200,000 bond notes from his realm, each with a return of 6% interest, among the highest anywhere in the world. Not only did he rake in a fortune from investors, he convinced hundreds of people to set sail for this made-up country of Poitiers. Shiploads of investors, settlers, ventured out on the seas to the Central American country with promises of a tropical paradise with the world's most fertile soil, honeycombed with rivers full of water, with chunks of gold waiting to be picked up. What they found in Honduras was a tangled wilderness of impenetrable jungle filled with poisonous snakes and malaria. There were no ports, no cities, no roads in this place of desolation, of deprivation, and empty promises. The Prince of Poitiers was a scammer from Scotland by the name of Gregor MacGregor. He had spent his lifetime selling false dreams to gullible investors. His $200,000 bond notes were as fake as his country of Poitiers. By the time he was exposed, he had already fled to France, where he pulled the same scheme on Frenchmen with the same results. MacGregor could have written the words famously attributed to P.T. Barnum, "There is a sucker born every moment." When he was again discovered to be a fraud, he was forced to flee from his French-fleeced victims. He had to run to the ends of the world to escape their vengeance. He died in 1845 in the city of Caracas, Venezuela. And if you go to Scotland today, to the MacGregor graveyard, you will not find his name written anywhere on a grave marker in the family cemetery, and you won't find his nefarious name written anywhere in the family records. They were so embarrassed of his nefarious activities. But you can find that land of Poitiers in a region of Honduras, still desolate, still tangled, a perpetual warning to gullible people everywhere. If you don't want to be a victim of some Bernie Madoff, some Prince of Poitiers, hold fast to a tried and true world. If it seems too good to be true, almost always is. Here's some advice that St. Paul wrote to his disciple Timothy. People who long to be rich fall into temptation. They're trapped by many foolish and harmful desires that plunge them into ruin and destruction. So I want to leave you today with 4 pointers because I love you. The first is to repeat every day that saying. Every time somebody has a deal that's too good to be true, repeat to yourself that saying. If it's too good to be true, probably is. Second thing I want to tell you is, to give you a proverb from the Bible. Easy riches is a snare. It's one of Satan's oldest tricks. It's the trick of every scammer, of every Ponzi scheme operator, of everyone who tells you he has an investment that can't miss. Easy riches. It is a snare. It attracts us. I mean, who doesn't want to get rich easy? Who wants to work hard over years to accumulate wealth? And the third thing that I would tell you is if you are, in financial trouble, if you really are hardly making ends meet, then watch out. You are the most vulnerable to the get-rich-quick scheme, to the scammer. It seems to be an easy way out. It seems to solve all of the problems that you can't solve in the short term. So beware. You are the prime suspect, the prime victim for a scammer. And then finally, here's some great advice. Don't take anything at face value. You know, the folks who lived back in the early 1800s, they didn't have what you have today. You have the internet. You have information at your fingertip. So be sure and check out everything. Don't take anybody's word for granted. Check out references. Check out the product that they're selling. I remember a guy who came to a church I pastored with an idea that he was going to build a plasma TV that the government would require in the years to come, that everybody was going to get rich off of. He bilked $500,000 out of the gullible members of my congregation. I knew better because I did a little study, went to some of the different TV places, and I found already all kinds of plasma TVs sitting on the showroom floor. I knew that it was a scam. And so beware. Beware of scammers who believe there's a sucker born every minute. I think because you listen today, you're not going to be one of those people. Well, I hope you go out and have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. God bless. Thanks for tuning in.